Introducing EdgeProX.
Good afternoon from Chicago, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our weekly walkthrough for EdgeProX. This is Morad Askar, FuturesTrader71. It is the 21st of April, 2021. We have a lot packed in today to cover. We're going to try to make this as quick as possible. I want to remind you that derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Maybe you can give me a mic check as a start. Just let me know if I'm coming across too loud for you, too low, something. Here's what we're covering today. We'll talk briefly about what EdgeProX is. We'll also talk about EdgeClear so we can put that into context. We'll cover workspaces, heat map features, volume imprints, volume profile overview, TPO and market profile overview, advanced DOM and what that offers, setting up simulated trading mode, which we would prefer that you use in your practice, and then cross-instrument trading so you can chart one instrument and trade the correlated instrument. Bracket orders and strategies. We won't spend too much time on this. You can dig in by getting your own demo, of course, to all of you. If you want to check this platform out, you can go to edgeprox.com. It'll drop you right into the page where this platform can be studied a little bit. There's some information on it. And of course, you can scroll down and get a demo, free demo, 14 days, including data. We'll talk about the Edge Pro line real quick, and then finally where to get help and support. So let's dive in. What is EdgeProX? It's an all-in-one solution. We see the spectrum of trading platforms on a horizon, from the highly specialized software like Jigsaw and Bookmap and others on one end of the horizon. And then on the other end of the horizon are the more generalized trading platforms like Investor RT, Sierra Chart, Multi-Chart, and TradeStation, Thinkorswim, things like that. EdgeProX falls into the more active side, not quite as specialized as Bookmap, Jigsaw, and others, but incorporating some of the features of the long-term platforms with some of the specifics that are needed by active traders on the specialized side of the spectrum. It includes advanced DOM features, including full MBO capabilities on the Rhythmic feed, soon to be on the CQG feed. Volume profile and TPO charts are included. Native order flow tools include the heat map. We'll go over that. Volume imprint, which is also known as a footprint or volume scope or volume ladder. Many people call them different things because the footprint is actually a trademark. And you can also print large blocks or large prints on that heat map. One of the great features of EdgeProX is you can combine any number of indicators or tools into one chart. So you can have a footprint with a superimposed heat map on it, with cloud levels on it, with the Edge Pro line on it, while trading across instrument, things like that. We'll cover these. These are some of the features available on EdgeProX. In addition to that, we have incorporated cloud levels. Some of you are familiar with the master levels I used to post publicly that you can import into your trading platform. Some entities like Convergent Trading, which I've also founded, have converters that allow you to impose, pull in cloud levels from anyone that puts them on the cloud, and then it'll print them or show them on your Sierra Chart, Ninja, IRT, EdgeProX, Bookmap, and so on. Cloud levels are an integrated part of trading in a group. Edge Pro line is a line that tracks your trade's scratch point or break-even point. It's a dynamic tool. We'll go over that. The platform includes fully functional 300+ studies and indicators. indicator layering, as I talked about, and of course it's native to Windows, Mac, and I should say Linux as well. It runs on Rhythmic, CQG, or IQ Feed. All of this is included for $34.99 per month, and it is for EdgeClear members only. So it's tied into the brokerage. What is EdgeClear? EdgeClear is an independent futures brokerage. It was created by traders for traders. The team that started EdgeClear, including myself, I'm the founder, and the team it's an award-winning team of brokers who are also traders, and the focus is really that everything we do continuously improves, continuously builds, and EdgeProX gives us that foundation to build on. Everything we do at EdgeClear is trader inspired. And so that's what EdgeClear is. You can get more details at edgeclear.com. Let's dive right in. Workspace features. So let me pull up the platform here. So if you pull up our default workspace, you'll be landed right into this page here. It may not look exactly like this because a lot of this is very customizable and adjustable, but the workspace is fully configurable. You can add charts, you can move charts, you can detach charts and put them in their separate monitors. You can set what the default periodicities are, and then you can organize things into either you can take this chart, duplicate it, and set it to a different time frame and click back and forth if you want, or you can create a grid of 8 different charts like we have for the overview chart. This is our overview chart. The top row is the major indices, ES, NQ, YM, RTY. The middle row are the fundamental products, the bonds, the notes, gold, and silver. You can throw the dollar in there as well if you want, but the bottom row is the currencies, 6E, 6J, 6B, and 6C. And so you can create a grid like this and plop any product into this. You can even add a second chart or watch list or to each one of these individually. You can create a trade screen attached to each one of these individually. So very, very easy to snap this along, snap these around. Like I can move these, I can split the screen here, impose it on here, move it to any part of the screen. You can see where it'll land. A lot of configurability, and the workspace is shareable. You can create the entire workspace and simply go to File, Backup, and you can get a copy, an exact copy of the workspace as is. So that's where that stands. The next thing I want to cover with you is scaling. There are several different types of scaling. And by the way, I'll take your questions a little bit later. I just want to run through and give you all the information because some of your questions may be answered along the way. There are several different kinds of scaling. With something like a heat map, I use a heat map a fair amount. I've been trading on this platform, and I'm on this platform every day. I've been on this platform every day for the last 3 months. The workspace that you see here is something that was put together by our team. In case you're wondering, our version of this is built on the Motive Wave platform. So Motive Wave is the core of this, and what we did is we layered our needs on top of it. We've customized it. We have our own version of it. So some of you might recognize this as Motive Wave, and that is correct. There's a good reason why we don't go out and create a platform from scratch, because as people who are focused on traders, we don't want to have to worry about all of the things that take place within a platform. We've looked at building our own platform, but it's too much work keeping up with APIs and changes and things like that. We went and found a great partner who committed to giving us a foundation, and our intent is to take the platform as is and build on it to make it better, to make it more and more professional. And so that's, you know, so if you recognize this as Motive Wave, it is Motive Wave, but with some tweaks. Instead of going out and inventing the wheel, we're more focused on performance and features. So one way to scale is if you have the DOM open and you click on this this icon here, what it does is it matches the scale of the graph to the DOM so that the DOM and the heat map are continuously connected. The heat map changes its colors based on what's viewable. So it's simply looking for the highest bid and the highest offer, currently 522 down here at 47.5. And it's setting that to the darkest color, and then it's changing, it's grading all of the other colors according to that on the bid and on the ask. So this is one way to scale. The other way to scale is to set an auto scale. And what the auto scale does is it keeps the screen full at all times. It keeps the screen fully scaled so that you're seeing the top to the bottom, which you can see on a heat map doesn't make very much sense. So I like to keep the scale this way. But let's move over to the footprint here, or what we call the volume imprint. The volume imprint is on an auto scale, and we have set the auto scale to leave us to take up 95% of the workspace, the chart to take up the 95% of the workspace, and to leave 100 pixels at the top and the bottom. So as long as we have the auto scaling turned on, we are not able to shift the chart up and down. So as I grab the chart and shift it up and down, it won't do that. I can zoom out, zoom in, but in order to shift the chart up and down, I have to turn off auto scaling up here, and then I can just scroll it up and down. So if you're doing a demo and you're getting frustrated by the fact that you can't just pick up the chart and move it around like this, you probably have your auto scaling turned on, and there's a reason we want to keep that turned on so that it can continuously center the workspace. Okay, so that's the basics with scaling. You can also lock the horizontal scale so that it doesn't shift around when you're moving around. And when you get this workspace from us as part of the demo, you're going to see that there's just a lot here. Like, hey, we've got a heat map, we've got a footprint. I use both for trading. We have the volume delta at the bottom of this. We also have a volume profiling chart. It's going to recompute here and draw the volume profiles in a second. We have a volume profiling chart with its own cumulative delta chart. We have a TPO chart, so that's a market profiles chart. So if I zoom in, you'll start to see, let's close, turn off the auto scaling, and you'll start to see the market profile letters there. You see those letters pop up. That's just a standard market profile chart. And you're like, man, this is just way too much. The idea here is to give you a baseline of features that you can look at. We can add more, we can take away, but we're giving you a kind of what most active traders are looking for. We expect that you're probably not going to keep everything open, and you're going to close what you don't need. You may not need an overview chart as we have it here, so you can just close that layout and be done with it. If you make the changes to the layout and you find that you're stuck and you're not able to figure out how to get back, it's okay. We can actually send you the layout backup so you can load it again and come back to the default space. The data for all of this comes from whatever data feed you're using. I'm partial to Rhythmic. I'm a big fan of Rhythmic. And so the data here is loaded from Rhythmic as needed, and it's stored locally and is pulled locally unless you ask for more data, at which point it goes back and backfills using Rhythmic's data. For longer term, the data is being offered by CQG on the back end. for much bigger time frames. It's CQG data that's coming in. So that's just a general overview of workspace features. Let's look at the heat map. So we're gonna just hop on over and talk about the heat map a second. A heat map, just so you don't, for those of you who've never seen one, a heat map is simply a coloring in of the bid-ask data based on the offers and the bids in the market. So we can see here that there's a big, relatively large bid at 47.5. We color that very dark. We chose maroon for this. We color that very dark, and then all of the other bids and offers are colored in a graded scale from maroon through yellow, through orange, yellow to white, and then it gets darker and darker. And the darker the scale, the darker the color on here, the less volume there is. So as we move, because Rhythmic offers us our full depth, so as we move, 100 points up, let's go 100 points up, so we can see what's already bid or offered 100 points up. You can see there's, for one, there's at 42.50, which is about 100 points up, there's already an offer there for 381, and we can see using MBO data, market by order data, we can see that it's a block trade here. There's a large block at this price offered at 42.50, and we color it heavy because that's the heaviest price within view. We can turn that off by unclicking scale visible only, so that it takes the full depth of market, even if it's 1,000 ticks up or down, and scales our chart and scales our heat map to what's in the book. So given the entire depth of market, hundreds and hundreds of ticks up and down that are offered by the CME for this particular product, which is the ES, it looks like 41.47 is the highest bid price currently on the book. I prefer to set scale visible only so that the chart's being adjusted, the coloring or the gradation is being adjusted according to what's visible to me currently. I don't really care what's going on 100 ticks higher. I just want to see in the vicinity here what is available. When you set, when you go to the price column, so we're going into DOM preferences here. When we go to the price column, if we uncheck allow orders to be placed with the mouse on the price column, you can hold the control key and you can expand and contract the DOM a little bit. I don't need that too much. And then the other thing with the heat map, of course, we can impose a lot of things. Right now I'm superimposing the EdgePro line, which is basically the theoretical average line. It's a way of tracking where your scratch point is. For example, if I sell, what are we at? Let's try one lot. If I sell a one lot here, oops, hang on. Yeah, okay. So if I sell a one lot here, let's turn off these brackets for a second. And if I sell another lot there, the average is going to be 53.25. I don't know, this time of day is kind of slow. I'm not sure if it'll go up there. But the average is going to be 53.25. And if it drops again and I take off, I scale out at 52. So it shows us here, hey, you sold one lot at this particular price right here at 53, and there's your average. The average currently at 52.75. The average is currently 52.75. As I make adjustments to this trade, so let's sell another one here. So I sold another one. The average is still 52.75. But if I scale out of one of those for one tick, if the market down ticks, if I scale out of one of those, my average, my technical average or my platform average will be 52.75, but my real average, it will be 53. And generally we want this line to move away from the position that we are at. Of course, I'm selling near highs here, not a good proposition. I should have looked up on the chart before doing that, but the Edge Pro line is just showing you where you stand. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself speaking about this feature. Of course, this is only available on this platform, but if this price trades out here, 52.50, we got filled 52.50, and you notice the Edge Pro line shifted up one tick, taking into account the one tick of profit on the one lot, leaving us with one lot with an average at 53, and it's pink for short. You can change that to red or whatever. If I scale out some more here at 52.50, this will close the position, and then the Edge Pro line would disappear. But the goal here is to always know, and this is a very important tool that I created back in my prop shop a long time ago, that allows a scalper or even an active trader to constantly know what their true break-even point is. So the trade is closed, position is flat, and the line stops printing. Position is now 0. Anyway, we skipped ahead a little bit to the Edge Pro line, but the heat map is very self-explanatory. I recommend you keep the heat map tied to your DOM by checking the box up here to make them scale together. And then you can always, of course, you can double click on the price ladder as long as you've turned off the orders on the number scale, the price scale. You can always double click here to recenter this ladder. So if the ladder is off because you're looking in a distance here, you can either click this button right here, the centering button, or double click on the price and it'll bring it back to center. The heat map has, by default, has the volume, and on it we impose big trades. So big trades, currently I have it unfiltered. I'm showing a day of big trades, and I'm not filtering by minimum size and using rhythmic data. In other words, it's aggregating those fills. It's taking individual orders and putting them back together so we can see the true individual fills for a single order. So the way the CME works is you go out and you click, you generate an order ID, and then every time you get filled, you get a fill ID. And when you aggregate the data, all it's doing is it's taking all the quantities belonging to one order and putting them together into one contiguous block. And that way we can see what the real intent of participants are. This is only available with the rhythmic feed. Another feature of having market by order feed such as Rhythmix or MBO. And so we're re-aggregating the data, and so these blocks are basically rebuilding what has happened. So this may be this 156 that traded right here, or whatever that is, 156 that could have been made up of a bunch of 10 lots, 11 lots, 20 lots, 50 lots, whatever, and we show it as one fill right here, so we can see what the what truly took place. Okay, so that's the big trades. It's simply putting dots on here. The volume is what's at the bottom. Cloud levels, these are the levels resting either on your hard drive or resting in a Dropbox, Google Drive, or whatever. As long as you can get a link, they can be on an Amazon S3 server or any server, an FTP server, and you can pull those links in and show them on your map. So I like to filter reduce the contrast of a heat map down to about 50%, if not higher, by default. And that way I can see, I'm only interested in seeing where the volume is. You know, I'm basically scaling off 50% of whatever's on the screen, because I'm only interested in the areas that have more volume, such as this 4165 and so on. Okay. So that's that. Next, let's cover. So that's the heat map. Volume imprint. Very nice. The volume imprint is basically what we label the order flow chart. This is your footprint. And in our standard in our standard layout, we're using a point and figure chart. You can use a range bar chart, you can use Renko, you can use whatever, but generally with volume imprint, I like to use a point and figure because then I'm only getting a bar when there's enough rotation, and it's simply showing you the what has printed at each price. And on this, we have the heat map superimposed. So we already know what the heat map looks like. I'm going to right click on the heat map feature up here, and I'm going to say hide component just so we can clean up this screen. You can still bring in your cloud levels. There's a sample file that we send. There's a sample link that's built into this the demo. It's pointing to our server online at EdgeClear, and it's just a sample file for you that you can download and then adjust to match what you need. Again, you can link your DOM with the map, but in this case, I'm not so interested in doing that. You can also trade right off of the price scale. You are able to turn that off if this bothers you. You're able to turn off the ability to trade off of the price scale. It's right here under orders and preferences. So I clicked on preferences, orders, submission, and I can uncheck this, hit OK, and now I can't execute orders by mistake while I'm shifting my chart around. That's one thing you can do to turn that off. But for the volume imprint, everything that shows on the right is what has printed on the offer. These are the volumes that have printed on the offer, and everything to the left is what has printed on the bid or sellers. The yellow dot is the highest volume price within that bar. It tells you where most of the trading has taken place here within this bar, and there's a lot you can do here. If we look at the preferences, we can switch this to show delta. So this is just showing you the delta. You can have it show you the volume, which is what most folks are used to, something, X something. It shows you the volume. You can have it show you the bid ask, which is also classic. You can have it show you a profile of what has taken place. So this is the net. This is the bid plus ask, whatever traded at that price, giving you volume imprints all across using a profile. And of course, you can go back to the ladder, which shows you a candlestick with what has traded on the bid and offer. The number up top here, the 255, that is the volume delta for this is the volume delta for that particular bar. So you can see as the market broke higher here, we traded 4,522 more on the offer. In other words, there are 4,522 contracts that lifted the offer or bought aggressively more than those who sold on the bid. So the delta is simply measuring the aggressor, and what this is showing is that many bars had that many contracts had traded net. So this is the number of contracts that traded on the offer, the volume that traded on the offer minus the volume that traded on the bid, the buyers minus sellers, and gives you that number. And it shows that there was quite an aggressor here. And of course, as we broke through yesterday's high, if you recall, yesterday's high in the S&P is 41.51, and you could see that there was a stop run. How do I know it's a stop run? Can anybody tell me? How can I see from the volume imprint here that there was a stop run? Can anybody answer that? If you're watching the recording, you can still answer it in your head. But if you're here live right now, how can I tell that this was a stop run? That's right, folks. Zeros on the bid. Nothing traded on the bid. So it lifted 41.51, 156, 183, 199, 283 without a single down tick. There are no prints on the bid. This is a stop run. This is a blast off. And we actually can see this if we can't, because my heat map doesn't go that far back, but to keep the demand low on the PC. But if you had the heat map up at the time, you could have seen that it really blasted off, and there was a large print. I think it was 2,000 contracts that lifted stops above 41.51 today, yesterday's high. So anyway, so that's the imprint. On the right here is just a volume profile. Okay, it's just a standard volume profile, and like we talked about earlier, you can superimpose a bunch of different indicators on top of each other, and in this case, we're showing the day's volume profile, and we're showing it in intervals of 1 tick each. You can put the value area on here. I don't. You can filter the volume if you like. You can decide to filter the volume for the profile. And so this is just a standard volume profile showing you what has traded so far. We see a weak high here. This high is very, very vulnerable now. It's very likely to continue higher anyway. Getting distracted. At the bottom pane shows the volume delta. And that's the same delta that you're seeing here, but it's being shown over the entire day. It's blue or white when positive, and it's red when negative. So there it's going to load. If you crush your chart down in the demo and it stops and you're like, what is going on? Why isn't it printing more? The reason it's not printing more is because you're limited by what you choose as an imprint count. Why would you want to choose to limit that? Because I don't want to load data that I'm not going to see or don't care about. Okay, so I don't want to load so many volume imprints if I don't want it to go that far back. If I need to, I'll load that information and then remove it. But make sure that that setting, in case you wonder, you think there's bad data or you're missing data, it's because it's limited by that. So volume imprint, self-explanatory. A few ways to display this. You can display it as a bar, as a candlestick. You can display it as a line, as a gradient shade, which I prefer, or whatever. Okay, so that's the volume imprint feature. Next, we're going to cover the volume profile. We're going to do this very quickly. The volume profile chart is very simple. This is an all session or full session volume profile that you see here. And you can set it, you can set whatever you like. You can decide how you want it to display. You can decide if you want what the value area should be, how the value area should be shaded, how many days of profiles you'd want. You know, you have 10 days. Do you want it to print for every tick? Or do you want it to skip every other tick if you don't need the granularity? Do you want it to be RTH only? And so on and so forth. So there's a lot here that you can draw. There's something called an absorption level that's built into this, which is pretty cool. And generally at the top or the low of swings, we see this absorption, and I've set it to 3. And essentially what it's doing is it's looking for a price on the profile where there's an imbalance of 3 to 1, and it's drawing this line here on the bid. If the imbalance is on the bid, if it's hammering on the bid and it's not moving, and there's an imbalance there, it draws a pink line. If it's at the top of a swing, it draws a green line. I've noticed, I haven't used this for very long, but you can see even at the all-time high, you can see the imbalance is showing up near the high of day. You can see the imbalance is showing up near the low of day. It's relatively consistent. It's something that I'm looking deeper into. Can't get into it too much here because I'd be speaking out of turn, but it's something that's pretty cool. It's built into the platform. The other thing I have on here is VWAP. And most of you know what VWAP is. The settings are quite straightforward. You can draw bands. I can decide to do a 2 sigma band here and have it just draw these bands for me. I don't, for my own trading, I don't do that, so that's how we left it. but you can throw a VWAP on here. In addition to that, we're going to have the midline as an option. For those of you who are aware of what the midline is, we're going to have the midline as something that we can paint on here as well. By the way, for these walkthroughs, if you're continuing to explore the platform, you can keep coming back every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. And if you have questions or sticky points or areas that you want answered, this is a good place to do so. So that's the volume profile. Let's move on. This is going quite slowly. And then now the TPO chart, which is a market profile chart. Very straightforward. You can you can pull up a TPO. To add any indicator to the chart, just click on the chart, hit Control and T, and type TPO, and you get this time price opportunity chart. The time price opportunity chart, which is a market profile chart, very simple settings. The time frame for this chart is 1 per day. We're looking at every tick. We can change that. We can say, okay, just draw me a block every 4 ticks, and then you get this. You get less granularity. You get less granularity, but you can see more. This is it's better to not plot every tick if you're looking at the bigger picture. What is the interval? The standard interval of a TPO is 30 minutes, but you can change it to 1 minute or whatever. And how many TPO charts do I want? Is 20 by default. And you can see these TPO charts right here. You can see how the volume, the market profile has been playing out. We have, just for demonstration purposes, we have the TPO chart, the market profile chart on the right, and then on the left, we have a volume profile chart. This is something you can control. You can control from here. You can show the volume profile or eliminate it. You just end up with a standard TPO chart, as most other platforms can create. The value areas are computed, and it'll show you the initial balance. It'll show you the value area. It'll show you where the point of control is, and all those goodies that usually come with a market profile chart. So, and of course, it just with every chart, you can pull up the DOM and trade either on the chart itself by turning on price trading, or you can have a DOM, or you can have an order ticket to engage with the market. And the order ticket has a buy market, sell market, and all that stuff. And you can also control the buttons that are on there. Okay, so that's, oh, and by the way, you can combine these profiles. You can combine the profiles by, if I want a weekly profile, here's a weekly profile. So all I do is select weekly, and it's combining the week so far. You can also, I can also bring in a second TPO, so I can keep this weekly on here, and then also have a daily next to it. You can do all kinds of crazy things with any of these charts. Okay. Advanced DOM overview. So I want to look at the basic features, centering. A lot of this I covered: setting account to trade on, executing on attached DOM, large blocks, actual placing queues. So let's take a look at this real quick. So if we look at the typical DOM, let's move back to the heat map again. You can attach it to the chart or detach it from the chart. Okay. Let's bring this back in like that. Attach it, detach it. You can center if you turn off, if you go to the price column and shut off, allow orders to be placed with the mouse, which is defaulted on. You can double click on the price column to recenter. That's a very quick way to recenter. Let's say you're in a trade, you scroll up, you put out a trade up here. Let's put one lot out here at 65.25, and you just want to return to the action. You just double click, returns you back to the action. Don't forget to cancel that order that you just put out there. While I'm at it, You might notice here that this order has a little white line there, That white line normally starts at the end. So if I put an order out here in a live environment, this is a sim account to avoid making mistakes. If I put this order right here in this price that has 256 contracts offered, this white line would start at the far end. What does that mean? That is your actual place in queue. So the MBO data is telling us who we're in front of in this queue. And as our position improves because people cancel and reload their orders, the white line starts to migrate towards the price scale. It starts to migrate until it comes to the inside. Once it's on the inside, we know that if the market touches that price, we would be the one getting filled early. So an example of this is, let's say I'm long and I'm looking to get out at 65, and I put out my order at 65, but I put it out late. So there's 257 contracts, and I'm the 258th contract in here for a one lot, right? And I believe that this is likely to be a resistance level at 65. Well, if by the time the market has come up to 62, 63, I still find myself at the back end of the queue, this means that these large blocks, these dark blocks here, which are large blocks, these blocks are not canceling. They're not going away. They need to trade out. So my position to get out at the 41.65 is quite poor. So I might consider moving that order to 66 because chances are it's not going to trade. It's not likely to trade through, and I don't want to risk it nibbling at the 65 for 5, 10, 15 contracts and then turning around and going back and I'm not getting filled. So one of the advantages of the advanced DOM that's in EdgeProX is the ability to see what's in front of you. If it's all orange and there are very few large blocks in there, chances are I'm gonna get a fill quite readily. A lot of these will disappear by the time the market comes up here. We won't get into why that happens. So you can see here, this was in the high 80s or something, and it quickly disappeared. There isn't a large block in here, but at 41.55, we still have a substantial offer, but on that substantial offer, there's only a portion of it that is actually one contiguous order, one large block. You cannot see this information with most other platforms. This is a huge advantage, in my opinion, to be on EdgeProX in terms of understanding where you stand in a queue. This is what MBO data provides. And the line that you see, the white line you see, is your place, your actual. It's not an estimate, it's an actual place in queue. And over time, if you put out your order early enough, you'll start to see the white line converge upon the price scale, telling you that you're getting closer and closer and closer to being at the front of the market. Okay, so that's actual place in queue, and I just explained large blocks. I can go scan up and down and see how much at each level, and as you move away above 10 ticks or so, because most platforms only show 10 ticks, as you move beyond 10 ticks, it starts to look like a lot of large blocks, and that's very common, and it makes a lot of sense, right? So you can see here 65.75, there's 106 in here, and I would estimate that 90% of it is large blocks. As the market moves up and this becomes into view of the 10 ticks, it'll start to get filled in by smaller trades, and the orange starts to appear deeper and deeper. But if you look at 65, which is a strike price, it's got quite a few large blocks in it. By the time the market comes up here, most of this will still remain, and that price is likely to continue to trade out. The offers there are continuing to trade out. Underneath us, 41, 47.50, I've talked about this before. Look at how much of this 505, I'd say more than half of it, slightly more than half of it, is one block. Chances are, if it moves back to 47.50, this price, this is going to cause a collision. This red line here is going to stay here. to remain here as prices move down into 47.50. It's likely to trade this block out. Okay. Anyway, I hope you understand how relevant and important that is. Executing on the DOM is very straightforward. You want to sell, click in the ask. You want to cancel your orders. The LTQ, last traded quantity, we have this set to accumulate what's traded. So if it trades a 1 lot, then 100, it'll show 101. Most platforms will show 100. It'll just show you what traded last. But this is accumulating. It's showing you as long as it keeps trading on that one price, it'll accumulate it. As it downticks, it's red. As it upticks, it's blue. Okay, so that's the LTQ column. And then of course on the side here, which I squished away, is another volume profile. It's just showing you the volume at price for the entire session. So here's the entire session. We started down here. This is the low of the session, and it's tracking the volume at price along the entire thing. Okay, all volumes are aggregated. The way it's set up by default, EdgeProX is aggregating volume at price. For those of you who trade using order flow, this is an important feature. So we talked about centering. The other thing we didn't talk about is setting your account. So when you log in with a sim or a live account from Rithmic or CQG, you have an account that is X'd out. You can remove this Xing. It's called masking. It's set right here. I think it's in the trade. I thought it was somewhere in here. Masking. But somewhere in here, oh, it's in the bigger preferences. Orders. Anyway, somewhere in here you can set your masking. Maybe it's under general. Yeah, mask account right there. If you enable it, you can mask all. If it's set to 0, it'll mask the entire account number. If it's set to 1, it'll show you just one digit, the last digit, and so on and so forth. And you can be logged into multiple accounts. You can use EdgeProX to log into your CQG and your Rithmic account and have a simulator running on both. You can create all kinds of combinations of that. It's important, well, we'll go over simulation in a minute, but you can send, if you have multiple accounts, you can decide to send, let's say on the heat map, I want to send my trades to account, let's say it's not simulated, account A. And then on my order flow chart, which is trading crude, and I have a membership in crude on the NYMEX on a specific account, I might set it to a different account, and then the trades would go to that other account. So you can set different DOMs. So you see how it stays simulated, and I go back here and it stays on the actual live or the data feed account. You can create that sort of thing. For example, if you have a membership with a DAO and that account, you're required to trade that in a different account than your general account, you can make sure that the DOM is set to that particular DAO account for this particular DOM, and you can send your trades over there. So that's how you're setting different accounts. For me personally, when I'm trading on EdgeProX, I turn this off because everything's set to one live account, and I don't want to see this here. But for some folks, you want to flip between simulated and live, and you can do that right here. And it's very easy. And it'll track, this will track trades that are in the sim versus trades that are in the live account. You can filter them apart and so on and so forth. That's the advanced DOM overview. Simulated account, if you got the demo and you want to use your live Rithmic live CQG, we highly recommend you go into the settings, the preferences. Let's expand this out. Click on simulated account and turn on enable simulated account. Set your equity and hit OK, and it'll give you the option of a simulated account. We do not want you to demo or test a platform on a live account just so you're not clicking on something and creating a mistake and then being stuck with a live order. Okay, so we wanted to just go over that for a second. The next thing I'm going to cover, and we're almost done here, folks. The next thing we want to cover is cross-instrument trading. So let's say I'm already turned on for cross-instrument trading, but I want to track and chart the ES, but I want to trade the micros. Okay, so here's the ES, but I want to execute on the micros. All I have to do is right-click and engage cross-instrument trade right there. And you can see the trade I took earlier shows up right here. It occurred right here, and that happened in the micros. Okay, so it'll say up here ES cross trade to MESM1, telling you that the DOM is now engaged to send your trades to the micros, not to the full contract. And the correlation between these is set up in your instruments. You can set up NQ to MNQ, RTY to M2K, and so on and so forth. And you can just engage and disengage cross-instrument trading as you wish. So for those of you who want to send a trade to the micros in the morning and then trade the full product later on, you can just turn it on and off. Okay, so that's cross-instrument trading, and you can verify where the trade is going. So if I went cross-instrument trading and I want to make sure it's engaged, I might go way up here, put an order out, and then go into my account and see that it's sending it to the right symbol, MESM1. The routing isn't simulated. Okay, and so cancel. Okay, so that's that. And then bracket orders. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this because you can really just spend a lot of time figuring this out. But you can set brackets, you can name them by going to the DOM preferences. You can expand this window here and go exit. You can create brackets or adjust the ones that are there. You can change them and just say ES 16 by 24, for example. And I want to set it to ticks, and I'm going to say, okay, set me up for 100% of the quantity that I select, and I want it to be stopped out for 16 ticks. I want a stop market order, and then for my target, I want it to be 24 ticks on a limit engage. Or I can split up this trade. It has to add up to 100%. So I'm going to say, okay, give me half scale out for 12 ticks, and then the other half, 50% of the trade, I'm going to scale out. I'm going to have the same stop, 16 ticks, but I'm going to scale out for 24 ticks. Okay, and then when you hit OK and you select it, and by the way, very soon you'll be able to, when you engage, as you're getting ready to place your order, it'll show you where your brackets are. So if I go and execute on this, something is not working right. I must have done something wrong here because it's not showing the brackets. So let's flatten that. Let's see, there it is. Okay, yeah, I didn't have it engaged right. So this is setting our stops and setting our brackets just the way we implemented them, right? Okay, so I'm gonna flatten this. All right, so that's brackets. Cloud levels, very straightforward. You can go into your cloud level indicator. If it's not on here, you can press Control T, type cloud levels, and then it'll bring up these settings. You can configure this to look to a server, so a web address, or you can turn that off, engage, and you can just load a local CSV file that has all of your levels on it. Okay, and if it's on the cloud, anybody that has this link can then see your levels for that product. And you only need one file for many, many products. As long as you get the symbols correct, you can have one file to show many, many products. Anyway, I'm gonna move on. This is the cloud levels, by the way, you can set them to update every 5 minutes. So if the person who's got the cloud level file updated, updates it every 5 minutes, this program will go and download the latest and update your charts dynamically. You don't need to do anything. You just load them once and they're always going to stay up to date. Edge Pro line, we covered this. I'm not going to go over this now. And then that wraps it up for questions, or if you need support, you can visit our knowledge base at support.edgeclear.com. Of course, you can always email us at edgeprox@edgeclear.com. You can go to edgeclear.com, and in the bottom left corner, there's a live chat widget. You can reach out to a broker that way and ask your question. Of course, you're welcome to call the local numbers right there, 773-832-8320, or the toll-free number is 844-TRADE20. So that's all I had for you. I know that was a ton to cover. And of course, if you want to register, if you're done with the demo and you've gone to edgeprox.com and demoed the account, if you want to register, you can go to edgeclear.com/register to start your subscription. Again, it's $34.99 a month. Renewing monthly. I want to remind you that if you don't want to renew for the next month, you must cancel your subscription 5 business days before the end of the month. Okay. What questions do we have here, Giancarlo? What hasn't been answered? Let's see. Priorities. Can EdgeProX show stock zones across all charts? For example, chart 1 is a 5-minute candlestick with volume imprint. Chart 2 is a Renko chart. I've not been able to make the analysis function accomplish this. Yeah, I use the stock zones which come in through the cloud levels across multiple charts. I mean, these same levels are going to show up as long as you're pointing to the same file. And by the way, an easy way to do this is to just set your URL, set how you want the cloud levels to show, and then go to defaults and click on Save Defaults, Update. Then you can go to any of your other charts and just click Apply Defaults, and it'll apply those defaults that were brought in from the other charts. So this is something you can always do, but it will show up across all charts. And of course, you can set the cloud levels to only show up on your chart. So they've gone away from the DOM here. You can have them show up on the DOM only. These are my actual cloud level charts, or you can have them show up in both. Okay, so this way they're available everywhere, and you can control the opacity. I might not want them to be so bright. I might want them to just be faint in the background like this. And as soon as you have them the way you want them, just save that as a default and apply it to your other charts, and it'll come in on the other charts just the same. Okay. The next question I have is there a reversal bar? On a PNF, the bar that's going in the opposite direction is a reversal bar. I'm not sure if you mean that's a type of bar. We can definitely get back to you on that. Gio, if you want to make a note of this question by Mark, we can check in on it and send you back an answer. Randall, if you have a Motive Wave subscription, does it transfer? It does. You can transfer your subscription over. That's not an issue. I think you need to be at the same subscription level or better. Sam, will an IB indicator be developed in addition to the mid? Yeah, actually, that's something that's coming. That's something that's coming. My preference is, to be honest with you, is to have it. You can draw it on a chart, but I put that sort of thing right into, see the IB, the initial balance right here. I put that into the cloud levels and I can have it show whatever I want. But yes, we will have that developed as well. And then Max is asking, I use support resistance zones as a primary component of my trading. On Sierra chart, I can put notes on the zone regarding why it's important. I like the ease of dropping in support resistance zones, but I can't find where I can annotate anything on the zone. Am I missing something? You can definitely make annotations. Geo, you might know this better, but you can make annotations pretty much anywhere by here. And you can, that'll shift with the chart. Boop, boop. You can put a line pretty much anywhere, and that'll shift with the chart, or you can make it so that you can do all kinds of things with its properties. You can make it so that it doesn't, it extends forward and so on and so forth, if that's what you mean. Not sure. I think that's all the questions that we had that we haven't answered. Is there anything else that anybody wants here that I've not covered? We're over an hour now, so we're over our limit. But I certainly invite you to come back. There is a mobile app on the way, potentially. We'll see. But we're working to make this as seamless and as powerful for you as possible. So we'll remember, this is a baseline. We will continue to improve and develop and get this better. This platform has certainly got a special place in my heart now. It's the main tool that I use for trading, and I wouldn't be recommending it if I wasn't using it. Okay, thanks for joining us again. If you wish to get more info, just go to edgeclear.com and hit the chat widget or give us a call. Good luck, and I'll catch you next week. If you show up next week with more questions, we'll be here to answer them. Take care.